everyone. Welcome to No Drama, Just Movies. And this is another episode of Our Two Pence, where we take a pressing topic in the world of TV and movies and where we simply discuss it. And today we are here to discuss none other than the future, and more specifically, that final scene at the end of 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. My name is Cameron Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
I'm Phil Corwin.
Oh, that's right. I mean, he's not a Jimmy today, but he once was. If you checked out our 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple review. So let's go into it. Obviously, this is spoilers galore. If you have not seen 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, don't watch this video, or actually do watch this video if you like a good spoiler. However, let's go straight into it, right? So obviously, to give a little suspense here, the rumors were boiling. They were bubbling, right, over the last couple of years. You know, is Cillian going to return? Is Cillian Murphy as Jim going to finally return to this franchise? And then the premiere for 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple comes, I think it was last week, Thursday or Wednesday. And who should appear at the premiere? None other than Cillian Murphy. So everyone's like, oh, wait, why is he here? Is he just here to support, Nia DaCosta and Danny Boyle and the crew? Well, it turns out, obviously, after one of the final shots of this movie where, Dr. Ian, dies and Jack O'Connell's, Sir Lord Jimmy has been crucified and Samson comes in and collects Ian's body. We cut to black, and then suddenly we open on what is from what I recall, a beautiful little countryside-esque hill, and we see a young girl taking some notes, and then we hear a voice in the background talking to her from the kitchen. And of course, we knew who that voice was as soon as we heard it. Here he comes. Exactly, Oppenheimer himself. He walks in, Cillian Murphy, and obviously we have this scene where he's essentially preparing her for an exam, which seemingly is a homeschool exam, I guess, that he's preparing her for. They hear some commotion. They look outside and they see Spike and the other, well, I can't remember what Jimmy's name, the other Jimmy, I think she said her name was Kelly. I think it was Kelly. Yes. I think, so Spike and Kelly are running away from some infected, and the daughter turns around to Jim and says, Dad, are we going to help them? And he looks at her and says, of course we are. And we completely cut to end credits at that point. So, I mean, I guess, look, it's happening, right? We have seen that the third movie has been greenlit, even though this one, Bone Temple, is tracking for a lower opening weekend, but fingers crossed, we are going to get that third movie. But I mean, first and foremost, what was your thoughts on seeing Jim finally back, and what are your expectations moving forward?
So, while I like the first one, the first 28 days later, and I like Cillian Murphy, I like seeing him and stuff as well. Like, I wasn't as excited as you, I guess. Like, when I heard his voice, I was like, oh, it's Cillian Murphy. But I wasn't like, oh my God, he's in it. Because he was never, I think, like a massive part of this franchise. There's been like 28, how many films now? 4 films now, and he's only been in 1.
He's the character of the franchise.
How?
He was the main one of the first movie.
Yes, but then he disappeared, and there were other people.
But that's because we don't consider the other 2 movies that came after 28 Days Later. We don't consider them at all.
But, it's like it's different. Like with we recently had the reveal that Steve Rogers is coming back to Marvel. Like, that is a massive thing. Oh my God, he's coming back to Marvel. That is much bigger than, it's the guy that was in one film and like did stuff and then other people took over. It's like,
listen, man, the fandom of this movie, right? The fans of this franchise, right? We know that the fandom around this franchise all comes from the first movie. Like, the first movie is the heart of the franchise. And the main character of that movie is Jim. And when we heard that they were doing 28 Years Later, all people were discussing about is where's Cillian? Is Jim coming back? Is Jim coming back? Which is why I think they did save him for the final scene of this movie, because they know for the fans of this franchise, specifically the first movie, that's what they want to see. They were waiting for that moment. Where is Jim? And we got it. Now, the one thing I will say, I can't compare Jim to Steve Rogers. They're on two completely different planets, right? Like the franchise is on two completely different planets. This is a much more niche cult classic, right? In 28 Days Later. What I will say, I was so excited to see him. And because, especially with the star power of Cillian Murphy, it did feel like a holy SHIT moment. But I think also, the reason why I was also so excited to see him is because I'm intrigued to know what's happened over the 28 years, right? And that lends to my only critique of the scene. And people are going to maybe say, I'm a downer for this. But it's, in my mind, I thought that when we finally caught up with Jim, and maybe this is just the kind of things I like, I'm a fan of seeing the downtrodden, older, disturbed man who has gone through a whole lot of crap and is at a poor point of their lives, and they're weighed and burdened by the terrible events of life. I like seeing that kind of iteration of characters and story. And this felt different because, dare I say, he seemed quite happy and chirpy. And I was thinking, 28 years later, especially with someone who was there as a grown man in the first movie to see the onset of this epidemic, I was intrigued to see how that man would look like 28 years later. And I got to admit, I was quite surprised to see him so happy. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that we're probably going to learn, in terms of what happened to, I can't remember the character Naomi Harris played, but what happened to her, if she is around or if she got infected, and what the journey has been for Jim over the 28 years. I was just quite surprised that he was so happy. And obviously it's kind of a BS kind of obviously critique, right? I was just very shocked. Like he's there with his tea and making some toast, and he seems very chirpy. But I gotta admit, I'm very excited to see what that third movie looks like. I think that Spike and Jim, it always felt like we're on a collision course. Given that Spike was set up as kind of the main character of this new iteration, I didn't see how the two of them wouldn't have crossed paths. It's finally happening. I'm intrigued to see what that third movie looks like, assuming it's the final one, which I think is another question as well. If it is indeed the final one, you would assume that based on these box office returns, it probably will be. And I can't see Cillian doing more of these, but I'm intrigued to see what that story looks like. What's the goal here? And I think that is one of the critiques. Obviously, you pointed out actually in our 28 years later, the Bone Temple review, in terms of, I think what was so intriguing going into 28 years later was kind of getting an understanding of where the world is at, the different factions that are around, and ultimately what the main goal is here. And I think I still don't know what that is, especially with the third movie. What's the goal? Is the goal that Spike wants to get back to his dad and Cillian will help him do that? Will Jim help him do that? Will Jim help us come to speed or bring us up to speed in terms of the state of the land, the state of the world, different factions? Will they find out about Samson? And I gotta admit, I'm intrigued and I am there and I am excited. Are you?
Because you mentioned Samson. So, like I said in our review, go watch it. That thread was interesting, and Kelson cured an infected. But the problem is that nobody knows that. Nobody's seen cured Samson. So I don't know how that's going to play into the third one. If they now have to figure that out from the beginning, from scratch, or maybe if Cillian has figured something out in between. But I don't know where they're going to go, and if that is actually going to be the storyline. But if it's not, then what was the point of that?
Yeah.
Because
Because it does feel like a lot to fit in, right? Because it's like, first and foremost, Spike and Kelly turn up at Jim's door. They have no idea about Samson. And so what, is it a case where they're going to see Samson, realize that he's cured, and then Jim is going to be like, I know a doctor somewhere. But you'd imagine they're going to cross paths, right? And so is it going to be a case where they cross paths and then Jim's going to be like, I know a doctor who could replicate this cure. And Samson's like, I have Dr. Ian's notebooks. And then it's almost like a Last of Us thing where it's like venturing into some part of the land to meet a doctor who's going to turn this cure into something. I don't know. And I think that's the thing. Like, is one movie enough? It's going to have to be, right? Because I don't think there's going to be any more. Yeah.
I think I'm kind of ready to call it a day on these ones. Because
but to that point though, because obviously I'm a big fan of Bone Temple. Like, I'm also not against them doing kind of similarly what they did with 28 Years Later and the Bone Temple in terms of filming two movies that are essentially part 1 and 2 of the same movie, but very quickly back to back, if the story requires it. If it requires it. But I feel like now that we've met Jim, it kind of feels like we've reset again. Because it's like, what is the story gonna be? What is even happening with Spike? And by the way, the actor who plays Spike, I saw him at the premiere. He is grown, man. He is grown. Like, by the time he looks like a teenager now. Like, by the time that they shoot this, he is tall. He looks grown. And by the time they shoot this movie, like, he does not look anything like he does in the Bone Temple. He looks like he's aged like 5 years. And so I will be intrigued to see if, as a result, is there going to be a time skip or how they get around that? Or if or if Nia DaCosta or Danny Boyle reveal maybe if they shot any other scenes, maybe when they had Cillian there. I doubt it, but you never know. But I'm intrigued. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on this scene or the future of this franchise?
I'm just that I'm not as excited again for the next story or Cillian being in it. Again, I'll watch it because he's a great actor and I like watching him in stuff. But yeah, I don't care. I don't know how much I care about this story, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, surprise me, but I'm willing to watch it. But right now, the last one or the last two don't fill me with a lot of confidence that this is going to be an interesting film.
I gotcha. I mean, two polar opposite views here, but one thing is for certain: Jim is back. And he's coming back. And so this is good news to some degree. So we will see what happens. And also, as well, final point, whether Nia DaCosta or Danny Boyle directs the next one. Because I wouldn't be against Nia DaCosta jumping back in. But I have a feeling that Danny Boyle will probably be the one to close this out. And so we will see. We will see indeed. But that will do it for this episode of Our Two Pence. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Like, comment, share, drop down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts on the future of the 28 Years Later, I guess, franchise we'll call it now. And what your thoughts were on seeing Cillian. What were your thoughts? Please let us know. Once again, my name is Cameron Kelly Smith and I am joined by my esteemed Jimmy here.
Phil Corwin.
Oh, that's right.
Of Jimmy's.
Jimmy's, that's right. I mean, we got to get our blonde wigs for Halloween this year, I think. But once again, I think we should. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Thank you very much for checking out this episode of Our Two Pence, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.